It's always an honor to be asked to be a guest speaker at any particular ceremony, but it's much tougher for a veteran when you've been a veteran in the military, you've been different places, you've seen different things. And so I wanted to be very careful how I framed my speech this morning, and I wrote it down to make sure I didn't go off kilter. But Dr. Scott, thank you for recognizing and getting that veteran. And that's a moving time in our history. It's a time that hopefully we're beginning to have people pay attention to that and give us some recognition for what we did. This morning I'm not going to be long. That's why I wrote this down, so bear with me as I go through the process. Thank you for being here, number one, to honor this day, 2 days before the day that we celebrate Veterans Day. Many Americans around the country will pause this coming Wednesday to honor the brave men and women, veterans of the Air Force, the Army, the Navy, Marines, the Coast Guard, who have sacrificed and defended this great nation to keep our freedom intact through their courage and honorable service. On Wednesday, let's not forget the soldiers who stand guard over sleeping comrades in a country foreign to many Americans, not knowing whether they would be the first casualties if the installation was overrun, or the one who would not see her friends return alive, or to see them maimed or broken as a result of the skirmish. I remember my first days in basic training. I was a guide on for my platoon, and I was counted on to obey all of the directives from my drill instructor as to when to make a turn, when not to make a turn, when to stop, and when to go. It was a leadership position for me even then when I first started in the military. My drill instructor was a Vietnam veteran. I was involved in some of the toughest battles while there. And at night, he would share some of his stories with us. He, like any other soldiers there, was afraid for their lives, but understood that they needed to protect each other and stand strong with hopes of seeing their homeland again. We as service members remember the solemn oath we took the day we entered into the military. It goes something like this. I, state your name, do solemnly swear or affirm that I will support and defend the Constitution of the United States against all enemies, foreign and domestic. That I will bear true faith and allegiance to the same. That I will obey the orders of the President of the United States and the orders of the officers appointed over me, according to regulations and the Uniform Code of Military Justice. So help me God. And I'll pause for a moment and say this. At the time I took that oath, I didn't really know what I was going to do or where I was going to be. But the oath meant something to me as well as the other men and women that were there. On Wednesday, let us remember that our brave men and women who took this oath to protect and defend this proud nation deserve the thanks and gratitude for the sacrifices made no matter what conflict we found ourselves in. President John F. Kennedy said, ask not what your country can do for you, but what you can do for your country. Today, we have many service members that have returned home safely, but many are disabled, broken, and scarred defending this country. Many are homeless or in need of medical help. Also, many service members are in need of a job. I ask that you remember these service members and the sacrifices they made for me and you on Wednesday. And think of a way to personally honor a veteran by helping to break down the barriers they encounter or will encounter upon returning home. Last but not least, let's also remember the veterans that paid the ultimate sacrifice, giving their lives, past and present, to keep this country free. Many Americans will visit the monuments in this country that were erected in remembrance of these fallen heroes and veterans will also remember their fellow soldiers in the service of family members who have passed on before them. On Wednesday, November the 11th, let us all thank the veterans we will encounter for their service to the people of this great nation, the United States of America. For the veterans here today, we know what it means to serve. And I salute you. And thank you for your service. For those in the audience who are not military veterans, thank you for coming and showing your support for the brave men and women of the United States military. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, Dr. Gail Green, Executive Vice President of WTCC Community College.
Got my tissues just in case. I first began to understand the sacrifices that veterans made when I was 8 years old. It was the late 1960s, and every night on the evening news, there was a report on the Vietnam War. And every night, I would cry for the soldiers. I would ask my parents, why do we have to have wars? And finally, they had to discourage me from watching the news and encourage me to go to another room. And so here I am almost 50 years later, and I still ask that question, why do we have to have wars? And I still pray for peace in our world. And I still cry for soldiers. And I have a much deeper understanding of the sacrifices that soldiers make, that veterans make. And so I represent today all of the people that you left at home safe and protected, because I have lived a safe and protected life. So on behalf of all of us, I'd like for those of us who have not served in